Hello and welcome back to another TWG painting tutorial. In this video I'll be showing you how you can paint your foot knights using the Army Painter's range of paints and brushes. So here we have a Perry foot knight from my previous unboxing video, and you can see here I've primed it using the Army Painter's Uniform Grey Spray Primer. Now the reason why I've done this is because I find that grey acts as a really excellent base when painting predominantly silver miniatures. So the first task in painting this miniature is to go over the entirety of the armour with gunmetal. Now when it comes to painting this first step, it really doesn't matter if you're not neat. I just want to make sure we get across the entirety of the miniature this gunmetal base colour. If you can, do try and avoid painting some of the areas that we're painting over, such as the skin, things like that, but for the rest of the miniature just go crazy. I've watered down the gunmetal slightly as well, just to improve the coverage. As you can see, I'm making sure I get it across the entirety of the miniature here. Once you've base coated the entirety of the miniature, the next step is to wash over the armour, and for this we'll be using dark tone ink. By applying this wash over the miniature, you not only darken the metal slightly, but you also pick out all of the nice detailing that we can see here. So I'm just making sure that I get this wash nice evenly applied across the entirety of the metal, making sure it doesn't pull too strongly in some of the recesses, like so. With the wash applied, the next step is to pick out the armour panels, and for this we'll be using plate mail metal. This step will allow us to enhance some of the details. So what I'm going to be doing is picking out some of the raised panels and the raised sections just with the plate mail metal, and leaving the dark bits visible in the recesses, and just create some really nice shading, as you can see I'm applying here. As you can see, the plate mail metal has really brought out the definition in the armour. We're going to continue this with some additional highlights, but this time we're going to be focusing our attention mainly on the top edges along the miniature. For this we'll be using shining silver. Now shining silver is much brighter than the previous metals that we've used, so we're going to be focusing this mainly on the top edges, so you can see here just on the crest of the helmet there and the visor, and just along the top. Anywhere where you would imagine the light coming down from above and hitting the surface and reflecting off. Now that we've completed painting the silver armour, the next step is to paint some of the red detailing on the miniatures. This includes the actual scabbard and also the handle there on the actual sword, and also behind the legs here, and then finally there's a few small bows just on the elbow joints there as well. I'm painting all of these areas first of all with Chaotic Red. Chaotic Red gives us a really nice deep red colour in which to work from. As you can see here, I'm just making sure not to spill onto the silver metal areas we've already painted. Just carefully fill in the areas behind the legs, and I've just mixed in just a small amount of water here just to improve the flow slightly. It makes it a lot easier to apply this paint as well. The next step in painting this miniature, once you've base coated the red areas, is to wash over the leather areas, such as the sheath here and also the handle, with dark tone ink. The reason I'm using a dark tone ink just on these areas is I want to go for this dark leather effect, this dark red leather. So by applying this wash over the top, it just creates a really nice deep red colour compared to the lighter red colour I'll be employing elsewhere. The next step is to paint the red areas we washed over in the last section just by highlighting these, and then also go over the red sections on the back of the legs and also these tassels here. Now for this we'll be using Dragon Red. When painting the sheath here, we just want to highlight the very edge rather than painting over the entirety. You can see here just by using my small brush, just dragging it along the edge to create this nice highlight. Now when we actually come to paint the back of the leg, the fabric behind the legs here, I'm going to be actually painting the entirety of it, but just leaving the Chaotic Red visible in the darker recesses. The next step is to paint the leather areas. This includes the feet and also the straps that are holding the sword to the waist. I'll also be painting the individual straps that are on the actual armour here. You can see one at the back there and around the skirt at the bottom. And I'm painting all of these areas, first of all, with leather brown. So I'll be painting the boots like so, making sure that I cover the entirety of the metal areas we painted in one of the previous steps. Just making sure. Now one of the things you might want to do is to actually apply 2 thin coats as opposed to 1 thick one, and this will probably give you the smoothest coverage possible. With the brown applied, the next step is to wash over the areas using strong tone ink. By applying this wash over the leather areas, it really darkens it and brings out some of the detail. As you can see, I'm just making sure I apply it quite thoroughly over here, making sure that it pulls into the recesses. Now when you come to wash over the straps on the actual armour itself, just be very careful. You don't want to overspill too much onto the rest of the armour. Now before we move on to highlighting the leather areas we painted in the previous step, we're now going to be painting the wood on the poleaxe there as well. For this we'll be using Oak Brown. As before, we just want to create a base coat for this stage here, so I've just mixed in a small amount of water into the paint just to improve the flow slightly. And then once this layer has dried, I'll then be applying a second, also watered down layer over the top. So for the next step, I'll now be highlighting the leather areas, and for this, I'll be using Monster Brown. So this time we'll just be painting over the top using the Monster Brown, just to create a nice highlight over the leather areas, picking out the folds in the material, which you can see I'm just doing here. And the same when it comes to painting the straps, we just want to paint one of the top edges if you can, as opposed to painting the entire strap itself. I'm doing this across the entirety of the miniature. The next step in painting this miniature is to paint any flesh areas. Now some of your miniatures may have full helmets and may not have any flesh exposed, but in the case of this one, you can see his face. So we're base coating this first of all with tanned flesh. For this step, you just want to be carefully applying the tanned flesh onto the facial area, as you can see here. I've mixed in just a small amount of water, as when painting skin you want to be very subtle with your colours, you want to apply it too thickly. So be very careful as well not to overspill onto the areas we've already painted. With the base coat to the flesh applied, the next step is to apply some shading in the recesses, and for this we'll be using Flesh Wash. Flesh Wash is excellent for providing definition to skin tones, such as the face here, so I'm just going to be applying it over the skin. I'm not applying it too thickly, I've just mixed in just a small amount of water there, just so it's not quite as strong, making sure that it pools into all the recesses and bring out all that detail. Now the final step in painting our knight is to apply a final highlight onto the skin areas, and for this we'll be using Barbarian Flesh. This time we want to focus our attention onto the raised areas, such as the nose here, and also onto the cheeks, and then onto the chin as well. Now I've mixed in a small amount of water again, because like I've already said, when painting skin tones you want to be very subtle with your blending. Now there is one more optional step you can take when painting your miniatures, because at the moment the armour is looking very clean and very pristine. If you want to dirty it up a little bit, you can do so by applying some targeted washes of strong tone ink. Now strong tone ink is very dark brown in colour, so what we can do is if we apply some targeted washes into the recesses, it'll create this nice dark brown colour over the metal, which will represent dirt and oil that's built up. And you want to kind of concentrate this on areas you would expect the dirt to accumulate, such as the legs here, as they fall down into the mud and walk through it as well. And here we have the completed knight. So whilst I have focused on a Perry foot knight for this tutorial, you could apply the same techniques to any knight miniatures, be they historical wargaming or fantasy. Now if you enjoyed this tutorial, do let me know in the comments below, and also subscribe to be kept up to date with all of my future videos. You can also follow what I'm working on by checking out my Facebook pages and also my Instagram, which you can find links to in the description below. Additionally, if you would like to support me in making more tutorials, you can do so by heading on over to my Patreon page, which you can find a link to on the screen now. From there you can donate to me from as little as $1 a month, which will just help me to make more tutorials in the future. So until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.